All right, we are live. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Sorry about last week. Unfortunately, came down with a little bit of the COVID, so was unable to really tune in for tape and give you guys the product I promised to give you when I do go live. We are live with the first show of the day, first show of the week, LFA 145, live from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, on Friday, October 21st, before the big UFC 280 show on Saturday morning for us here in the East, in the States. But either way, I'm always keeping honest with you guys. This LFA card, I think, is one of the lower quality, if not lowest quality, they've put on in a long time. Bruno Assis versus Jesse Murray. Yes, that Jesse Murray. He's back and he's headlining this LFA card. Just found out that William Stark's fight with Milkman has been withdrawn from. So, fortunately, William Starks is off the card. Was interested to see how he would come back from Glacio. But this is going to be a pretty quick picks video. I do think there's a couple potential for upsets. I'm going to mention that here quickly, but I think this is a pretty low quality card. There's still possibilities for profit, but you're not wanting to put too much behind a Bruno Assis or Jesse Murray type of guy. I mean, you have we'll go through it here. So these are going to be a little quicker picks than you're used to with my LFA, but I did look into all of these, and here we go with the 5-card main card as of now. Maybe there'll be some changes, but starting with a pretty close fight, at least, in Scott Ritz versus Craig Fruth. Craig the Truth Fruth here out of Indiana, welterweight, 9-5 versus the 5-2 Scott Ritz. Yeah, this I think is a pretty close fight. It's between two guys who like to mix it up on the feet, take control in the center of the octagon. Both can wrestle. Craig Fruth sometimes a little less willing to go to his wrestling, and has been shown if you go to the wrestling, you can kind of beat him to the shot, so to speak. What up, Moist? Good to see you here, man. Yes, this is definitely a circus card here. We have Jesse Murray in the main event. Yes, Jesse Murray, fresh off of a win over Alton Cunningham by a split decision. So that gets you a LFA main event now. So anyways, Fruth here, 32 years old now, good size at 170, has fought at 185 as well. Kind of bounces on his feet a little bit on when he's on the stand-up. Really likes to control the center of the octagon. Last fight with Hopton Stewart was a pretty close fight. Hopton was able to hurt him, but Hopton refused to take the center of the octagon. It was very clearly where Craig wanted the fight to be. He did throw some leg kicks. He also had some leg kicks landed on him, started switching stances a little bit. He was caught with an elbow by Hopton. Very close fight. At Art of Scrap 3. Actually, I watched it on Hopton Stewart's YouTube page, so kind of weird there. But yeah, I mean, pretty much he likes to wrestle, but he'll mix it up on the feet a little longer than he should. With Lucas Clay, he just stayed in that guard way too long and eventually got triangled. But I mean, he was taking him down, but I think Lucas was going down for the most part. Lucas looked pretty good in that fight. Otherwise, rear naked choke win, decision wins for the most part. He likes to stand up more than he should. He has been caught in several fights, including against Bobby Nash back in 2015. Josh Streaker caught him early in the fight. Lucas Clay was having his way. Hopton caught him in the first round, but lost the decision. Hopton did. Scott Ritz, pretty similar type of fighter here. Decent wrestler for sure. 5-2. He's out of Wisconsin, so he is going to have the crowd behind him. 3 straight wins for the 29-year-old. Both guys over 6 foot. Both guys have come down from 185, so they're both going to be bigger. Ritz in his last fight got that knockout of Derek Smith. It was on the prelims, so wasn't able to go and find it. Ritz was a pretty heavy favorite in that fight, however. Before that, couple submissions using his wrestling. Also lost to Josh Streaker, although he went to the second round. JP St. Louis as well. Both those in 2019, pretty close together. One with LFA. I don't really hold those against him as much. I do think Scott Ritz has the more of the promise in this fight. Pulling up the odds really quick. I am going to go with Scott here. I think Scott can use the leg kicks he's been showing to use in other fights. Those do affect Craig. And I just think that a little more to get behind. However, minus 240 on Scott is not something I'm looking to touch. So Scott by decision for me. But yeah, I'm going to leave that one alone. I think it could get pretty close. This next fight, also very close at 155. Keegan Gendrich versus Jake Kowalski. Here, Jake making his return after a loss to Lucas Clay. You see a lot of these fighters have losses to similar types of opponents here, but Jake, 6 foot tall, 5'2", 31 years old now, has been off since September of last year when he took on Lucas Clay. And hey, that was a really good fight. Very contested. Lucas was experimenting on the feet a little more, but still, you've seen how good Lucas Clay is. Lucas is the real deal, and it was a very close competitive fight. Lucas was able to use those arms, cinch up a Barbaro choke, and it was a really nasty one. Not, something that necessarily he'll be safe from in this fight too, because he's facing another lengthy, tricky guy in Keegan Gendrich here. But overall, with Jake, does have a KO and a submission, but for the most part, I think he is more comfortable on his feet. In this fight, I see it taking place much more on the feet. Keegan Machine Gun Gendrich, now 32 years old, 6'2", 75-inch reach, 4-2, 2 straight wins coming into this over JT Schultz by split with Chosen Few, and then coming into the LFA 131 and having the upset over Austin Luchin by decision. Very good fight there. He's very scrappy. He's tough to, get the range on. Evan Elder had a very close decision win over Keegan back at LFA 88 in 2020. Could have really went either way, but the body was very much exposed for Keegan. I do think he has trouble protecting his body. And I think Keegan's going to look to make this more scrap. And I do think that if Jake can kind of keep this more technical in and out, I do think there's a route to a decision. So Jake Kowalski is my pick in this fight. I do think that Keegan's going to, show up. He always does. I think Jake showed a lot of promise in that last fight against Lucas, and I'm curious to see after the year off how much he improves or hasn't improved. And at plus 170, considering taking the shot here, Keegan minus 210, I think is way overvalued. The win over Austin Luchin was good, but Austin Luchin, I'm not so sure how good he is. He's pretty one-dimensional, especially when he can't get his style going. So I am going to take a shot at Jake Kowalski here at plus 175. Next fight, third from the top, Tyus White versus Miguel Sanson. Probably the best overall fight on the card now that William Starks is off the card. Miguel Sanson, 3-0, 3 fights with LFA. He's looked very, very good at times, but, he's still 23 years old, really welding his game still out of Wisconsin, Burlington, Wisconsin, fighting with freestyle, fighting as a freestyle fighter with 3 straight wins in the LFA. As I said, 2 decisions. The decision over Braden Pauga, was able to go and watch that on Fight Pass this morning. And he looked a little bit hesitant, looked like a debuting fighter for sure. And had trouble getting his wrestling going. Started to take some shots from pretty far out. And when he did struggle with the wrestling, his stand-up is good, but clearly I think he wants to get into the wrestling realm. With Sean Stebbins, had a similar type of issue, which was why it was a split. And then against Gonzalo Ponce, it was a shoulder injury at the end of the first round, but Miguel was looking good. He's looking better. He's very technical, has good experience as an amateur as well at 4-0 with 3 finishes there. He does take his time, but he looks to get the wrestling going, and I think that could be, a tricky spot here against the White Mamba and Tyus White. 25 years old, so both these guys very young in their career. Pure Vita BJJ fought last in April. Tyus did, getting the win there over Jeff Jepson. Really slick. A Darce choke could be a way that he keeps Miguel kind of honest, because he does have those slick chokes. He is very adept on the ground, and he's gotten better and better on the feet. Tony Laramie really was able to bully and, take away the space, take away the increase the pace and take away the space, so to speak. So I do think that is the route Miguel is going to try to take. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to. I think Tyus has improved a lot. He's worked at a lot of good camps as well. And for me, I am going to go with the slight underdog in Tyus White at plus 110. I think this is a really good spot for Tyus. I do think that he might be willing to get taken down at some times. And I think that might be a mistake just because Tyus does believe in his bottom game a little too much. But if he's able to keep it on the feet, I do think he has the advantage. And overall, the experience edge to him. I just think that when Sanson struggles with that wrestling, he does start to get a little bit hesitant, a la William Starks in his last fight against like Glacio Franca, where he gets a little bit too technical. He's gotten away with it so far, but a split and a close unanimous decision in his first fight. I do think this is a spot for the plus 110 Tyus White. So give me the second dog in a row here for me in Tyus White. Really good fight. One of my favorite on the card for sure. And so we're going to move on to the co-main event. This is trash. I'll be honest. I'm not a big fan of what they're doing here. Jenna Bishop coming off a really impressive win over Luana Santos, 3-0, 3-0, both or 2-0, 2-0 versus 3-0 at the time. It was a very competitive fight, but very good. Before that, Diona Barbosa, 3-1. Good use of her wrestling, good use of her jiu-jitsu, and just overall her really rounding into form after coming over from the grappling world. And now she's taking on a 1-1 Olivia Bixo. I don't know much about this woman. 1-1. She lost her last fight in September with 3 River Throwdown to 3-1 Rain Guerrero. It was, a perfectly good fight. It was a main event. But before that, her only win was over 0-6 Amanda Lovato. So if you know anything about Lovato, 4-1 as an amateur as well for Olivia, going to a decision for the most part. She does have a few submissions, but Jenna is going to be superior in the grappling. And I think she has the advantage overall in this fight. So I expect Jenna to roll here. And the odds I anticipate are going to be ridiculous. Jenna minus 500. It's probably going to shoot up as soon as it opens too, but she should be the favorite. So I wouldn't take much of a shot on it, but you can, add it to parlays and boost them if you want. Jenna via submission, probably. Bruno Assis versus Jesse Murray. This is one of the worst main events I can remember in LFA memory. Jesse Murray got obliterated by Berhalo. He's been knocked out, I believe, in 3 of his 4 losses. He's only 29 years old, coming off that win by split decision over Alton Cunningham, yes. Kyle Berhalo absolutely obliterated him on the Contender Series. He got knocked out pretty rough by Jason Butcher, had to withdraw from the Bam Bam Davis fight where he was taking quite a bit of damage as well, in a doctor stoppage in his first loss to Don Kuta. Hasn't beat anybody really of note, with Tim Hiley being his best win, but it was a decision win there. Otherwise, Alton Cunningham. Bruno Assis has never had a KO. Pretty much is very chinny himself. Very good jiu-jitsu, however. He did do karate against Gabriel Varga and not get KO'd. But he got KO'd hard against Ozzy Diaz, got absolutely clipped by Aaron Jeffrey. You can go back and watch that one. Daniel Pereira put him away as well. He went to distance with Andre Muniz on the Contender Series. So that's definitely a positive. He's been in there with the better level of competition, at least been able to go farther. He has a win over Jalton Almeida as well. I do think this is probably a spot where he submits Jesse Murray, but could be Bruno Assis' first KO. I'm going with Bruno Assis here. I cannot pick Jesse Murray in this spot or most spots, but I'm also not betting Bruno Assis at minus 225. So that is going to do it for the LFA 145 breakdown. Unfortunately, William Starks originally was supposed to go against Jordan Griffin, then against Ezekiel Costa, a.k.a. Milkman, and both withdrew. So unfortunately, that is the card. That is the breakdown. I will be back this afternoon with MMA wagers to cover UFC 280, however, where we are. And yes, Moise, thank you for joining me, Moise. You're a real one. Anybody who is here live, Bo, appreciate you. Arkham Dome, whatever we're called, the VR Dome. Appreciate everybody for joining me, checking this out. I know this is a shorter breakdown. There's not going to be timestamps. It's pretty much a quick picks with a little bit more detail. I did do the tape, but those are my thoughts on the fights. Really quickly, I'll go back over them if you're just joining me or if you're coming to the end here. But I'm going to go with Scott Ritz. In the first fight of the night, I think it goes to a decision most likely. Jake Kowalski, I'm going to take by decision as well. I'll take Tyus White, also by decision. Jenna Bishop by submission, and Bruno Assis by submission. So I got a couple subs and a decision. Keep taking care of each other out there. I'll see you this afternoon around 2 p.m. Eastern time. So in about 5 hours for the UFC 280 breakdown show with MMA Wagers. Peace out.